Hey everybody, what is up? My name is Martin, and welcome to 2K Central. So with Red Dead Redemption 2 coming this autumn, we decided to put together a small recap of the previous game. Not very unique, I know, but we'll also be doing a short breakdown of Red Dead Revolver's story, which a lot of people missed because we have a slightly younger audience. But yeah, for now, here's a recap of Red Dead Redemption. Strap in and strap on. But disclaimer, spoiler alert, I know some people are sensitive towards those things, and just about everything in life. Alright, so firstly, setting the scene. The story of Red Dead Redemption is set in 1911 during the final stretch of the American Old West era. With a large influx of settlers and major advances in technology, the region is starting to experience major change, marking the end of the Old Wild West and the beginning of a new age. Along with this, the federal government seeks to cease gang activity along the western region. A man named Edgar Ross is in charge of dealing with outlaws and bringing order. Alright, so that is the scene. So the game starts with main protagonist John Marston, a retired outlaw, now a family man, and he is approached by corrupt government officials led by Edgar Ross, who has kidnapped his wife, Abigail, and son Jack, using them as leverage, forcing John to find key members of his former gang of outlaws, Bill Williamson, Javier Escuela, and Dutch van der Linde, who all continue to run gangs and cause major troubles in the region. And for finding and bringing his former friends to justice, John will receive a full pardon for his past crimes, and his family will be returned safely, in theory. Now John begins a search by heading towards the town of Armadillo, and soon finds out that Bill Williamson, a key member from the band of outlaws he once ran with, is held up at Fort Mercer. John approaches and attempts to negotiate Bill's surrender, though he quickly finds out that his old pal Bill is much more insane than usual. It ends with one of Bill's men shooting Marston and leaving him for dead as Williamson laughs on. Though John is saved and mended back to health by an everyday hero, Bonnie McFarlane, a local rancher. After being patched up, Marston feels the need to repay Bonnie for saving his life and her genuine kindness, so he begins to help around the ranch. The two then form a close bond in which John eventually opens up about his past life with Dutch's gang. We learn together they had robbed banks, held people at ransom, and committed many other crimes. He left the gang after they left him for dead during a robbery in 1906, though we also learn that the gang's leader taught Marston to read and to see the beauty in the world. John even views him as a great man in a way. Upon fully recovering and repaying the McFarlanes for their kindness, Marston continues his hunt by returning to the town of Armadillo. Here he meets US Marshal Lee Johnson, who is a hard-nosed, old-fashioned lawman, and Marston offers to help Johnson and his simple deputies by maintaining order within the region in exchange for some much needed information regarding Bill Williamson's whereabouts. In the process of helping the Marshal, John stumbles upon a number of unique personalities in his quest for redemption. That's putting it very lightly. And these consisted of legitimate salesman Nigel Dickens, psychotic grave robber Seth, and an alcoholic arms dealer called Irish. No comment. After completing numerous tasks for these characters, together they eventually repay John's service by aiding him with a unique assault on Bill Williamson's hideout, Fort Mercer. And upon breaching the fort successfully, John and his dysfunctional group learn that Bill has fled to Mexico to meet with another former friend, Javier Escuela, name butcher. John then continues his pursuit in Mexico. Here he meets the region's corrupt governor, Allende, and his right-hand man, Captain De Santa. John is forced to work for them to gain information on Williamson and Escuela. Upon helping them and exploring the region, John soon stumbles upon Landon Ricketts, a legendary gunslinger who teaches John a thing or two about how to use a weapon. The two men bond and reminisce about the old Wild West days. We learn that John left the gang after they left him to die during a robbery. And despite leaving the group forever, John feels like his past continues to bring major trouble into his life, which is pretty sad. Soon Marston offers aid to Abraham Reyes, who is attempting to start a revolution and overthrow the Mexican government, which includes Allende. Despite their initial alliance, Allende betrays John and his men attempt to kill him, though Reyes and his rebels arrive just in time to rescue John before he can be executed. After this, Marston joins the rebels, who help him track down his former brother in arms, and during a pretty tense showdown between the two, the player is given a choice to either kill or turn him into Edgar Ross. And during the showdown, Javier also gives away Bill Williamson's last known location, and he happens to be traveling with the Mexican government. Then to repay Reyes for finding Esquia, Marston then helps the rebels defeat the Mexican government's forces, and in doing so, they give up Bill Williamson, who happened to be traveling with them. And our old pal Bill is sadly killed after a last-ditch effort at escaping yet again. What a dick. Then upon returning to Blackwater to report on his success, Edgar Ross yet again threatens the life of John's family and sends him after Dutch van der Linde, John's former friend and leader. Dutch is very much a Robin Hood type character who robs from the rich and gives to the poor, and through his charisma he is able to gain followers who completely believe in his vision of a savage utopia, which opposes government control, supports individual liberty. Though with the advances in technology, his vision of individual liberty became even more unlikely, with the federal government gaining much more control and power over the region. Thus he had completely changed nothing, and his idealism soon turned to madness. And John then attempts to hunt down his former leader, but after being continuously outsmarted by Dutch and his gang during a few missions, John is eventually able to corner him. Dutch warns Marston that the federal government will always find a new monster because they have to justify their wages, and the charismatic Dutch then commits suicide by falling from a cliff in favour of being captured by Edgar Ross and his men. And then, as promised, John is reunited with his family at his ranch in Beecher's Hope, following multiple bonding missions with his wife Abigail, son Jack, and unrelated uncle. Disaster soon hits. Just as John is spending quality time with his son Jack, Uncle shouts, warning him that a group of armed agents and soldiers are approaching, with Edgar Ross among them. John and Uncle then attempt to defend the farm from the approaching army, though sadly, Uncle is soon shot and killed. The family thankfully then make it to the barn, and here Marston soon tells Abigail and Jack to escape while he faces his final conflict.
Get out of here. Go find a place to hide.
You're coming with us, Paul.
I'll catch up. You keep riding and don't look back. And don't be worried about me, you hear? Now get going.
You stay out of trouble, John.
Ain't no trouble, Abigail. Ain't no trouble. I love you.
I love you.
Now go! Get!
The game then transitions to 3 years later, and now 19-year-old Jack stares on at his father and mother's graves. He then leaves the site of their death and seeks vengeance against Edgar Ross. And after a few dead ends, Jack eventually discovers Ross enjoying his retirement, shooting at a flock of ducks along the coast of Mexico. Jack confronts him. Edgar shows no pity or remorse for John's death, which leads to a showdown between the two. And Jack thankfully wins and gains a small form of redemption for his family. But yeah, guys, that is the end of the recap and what I thought was the most important aspects of the story. Now, I have a question for you guys, as always. What is the one feature from Red Dead Redemption 1 you'd like to see return in the next game? Let us know, I'm curious. But as always, guys, thank you so much for watching. For more Red Dead Redemption 2 content, stay tuned here on 2K Central. Alright, take it easy, guys. Bye-bye.
Yes, everything's absolutely splendid.
Walking down the street and you hear that heavy beat, can't help but walk your feet.